Caitlin Clark's sudden injury wasn't just a setback. It became a symbol. When updates stalled and transparency broke down, the league's credibility cracked wide open. Fans were left guessing, while players took note of what the WNBA didn't say. That even its brightest star wasn't guaranteed safety or support. Behind the scenes, a storm was already brewing, with collective bargaining in limbo and leadership under fire.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
The WNBA appeared unprepared for a bigger threat. A new Saudi-funded league offering players everything they weren't getting: security, money, and a plan. Now, as Project B prepares to launch with global tournaments, elite infrastructure, and $100 million contracts, the WNBA faces its most serious reckoning yet. The contrast couldn't be sharper. On one side, decades of underinvestment. On the other, a strategy built on prestige and power. What's happening isn't just competition. It's a takeover attempt. And unless the WNBA transforms how it values and protects its players, it may not survive the next season as the world's premier destination for women's basketball. That's right. Women's basketball is officially entering its disruption era, and the WNBA might not survive what's coming. A new Saudi-backed league is throwing around money like confetti, and it just landed the face of American basketball. Caitlin Clark, sidelined with an injury, has become the symbol of everything that's broken in the WNBA, and why Project B, the flashy new competitor, is poised to take over. This isn't just a contract. It's a warning shot, a message from a rising sports empire with unlimited money, unlimited ambition, and zero interest in playing by the old rules. Let's break down what just happened. The WNBA was already on shaky ground. Leadership turmoil, unresolved collective bargaining agreements, and ongoing criticism over player treatment had left the league vulnerable. But with Clark's injury, those cracks turned into a full-on structural collapse. Fans were left in the dark. Updates were slow, and the league's response felt more like PR damage control than athlete-first transparency. And in the middle of that chaos, Saudi Arabia stepped in, quietly but powerfully, with a very different vision and a very big checkbook. Project B is not some off-season gimmick. It's a global, high-stakes pivot designed to redefine women's basketball entirely. Backed by billions, the league is offering elite-level facilities, first-class travel, glamorous global tournaments, and most importantly, contracts that make the WNBA look like a summer camp. We're talking tens of millions of dollars on the table. For the best players in the world, this isn't just tempting, it's logical. The blueprint isn't new. We've seen it in men's soccer, golf, and even boxing. Golf-backed investors don't just buy players. They buy prestige. They build leagues from the ground up, not with nostalgia or loyalty, but with pure, concentrated capital. And when you can outpay your competition 10-1, it's not long before the talent follows. So, what makes Project B different? Everything. This isn't a one-city league with limited reach and TV rights stuck in the early 2000s. It's global. It's expansive, and it's operating with the type of speed and clarity that the WNBA has repeatedly failed to match. While the WNBA is still working through internal power struggles and trying to modernize its infrastructure, Project B is planning tournaments on every continent, building out world-class training centers, and handing athletes everything they've been demanding for decades, without the red tape. Meanwhile, back in the States, the WNBA continues to stall. It's still struggling with basic necessities: better pay, safer facilities, travel upgrades, and player welfare standards that reflect a professional league in 2025, not 2005. Caitlin Clark's injury shined a blinding spotlight on these issues. Fans noticed, players noticed, and the people bankrolling Project B definitely noticed. It's not just about Clark's injury, though. It's about what the injury represents. A league that still can't guarantee the health, safety, and long-term career protection of its brightest star. Delayed updates. Confusing media statements. A lack of transparency that left fans and analysts speculating instead of trusting. In a moment when the WNBA should have closed ranks and protected its crown jewel, it floundered. And this is exactly the type of gap that competitors exploit. When you pair that with unresolved labor agreements and a commissioner who seems to be playing defense more than offense, it becomes crystal clear. The WNBA is reacting, while Project B is planning. One is focused on holding its ground. The other is looking to dominate globally. The scary part? This shift isn't years away. It's already happening. Project B launches next season. That means in just a few months, top-tier athletes will be weighing their options. Stay with a legacy league that's been slow to evolve, or take the guaranteed money, world-class treatment, and global spotlight offered by a new, aggressive challenger. It's a no-brainer for many, especially those who've watched years of broken promises and underinvestment from WNBA leadership. This isn't just about money. It's about control, narrative control, market control, cultural control. Saudi Arabia isn't trying to support women's basketball. They're trying to own it. And they're using the oldest tool in the disruption playbook, money. Big money. Strategic, precise, and completely unapologetic. And frankly, it's working. We've already seen this play out in sports like golf, where the Saudi-backed LIV Golf Tour forced the PGA into an uncomfortable merger just to stay afloat. Or in European soccer, where historic clubs are now struggling to retain talent as Gulf-owned teams buy up players at record prices. This isn't speculation. It's precedent. And if the WNBA doesn't act fast, it's going to lose not just players, but relevance. Let's talk about that for a second. The cultural cost of letting someone like Caitlin Clark walk away. Clark isn't just a player. She's a generational talent, a marketing juggernaut, and the main reason some fans even tune into WNBA games at all. Her college numbers shattered records. Her personality moved merch. She brought in audiences the league hadn't seen in years. Losing her to another league, especially one with questionable human rights optics, would be a seismic hit. But more importantly, it would show that the WNBA can't protect its most valuable assets. And if it can't do that, what's the point? What we're witnessing is a tipping point. The power dynamic in women's basketball is shifting in real time. And it's not being driven by loyalty or values or tradition. It's being driven by scale, infrastructure, player-first investment. The WNBA has had decades to figure this out. But now, with a direct challenger that doesn't have to worry about profitability or politics, they've run out of time. The question now isn't can the WNBA compete? It's, will it even try? Because competing means spending. It means revenue sharing. It means modernizing facilities, charter flights, healthcare investments, real player representation in league decisions, transparency with fans, strategic expansion, international partnerships. All of it, not next year. Now, if they don't, they'll get left behind. The truth is, the WNBA has spent too long focusing on sustainability instead of scalability. Too much caution, not enough innovation. And now, someone else is offering everything they couldn't on a global stage with a budget that doesn't blink. And fans, they'll follow the talent. They always do. If Clark and others jump ship, there won't be much left to hold casual viewers. The WNBA brand alone isn't strong enough to survive without its stars. And once players realize they can make 5 to 10 times more overseas, with better conditions and less drama, what exactly would keep them here? This is a classic sports power shift. Only this time, it's happening in women's basketball, and the consequences are even more severe, because the WNBA has long positioned itself as not just a sports league, but a movement that doesn't protect or pay its members. That's not a cause. That's a PR campaign. And Project B? It's not pretending to be anything it's not. It's here to win. So unless the WNBA is ready to meet this moment with real, aggressive change, we're watching the beginning of the end. Not of women's basketball, but of its American stronghold. Caitlin Clark's $100 million deal isn't a fluke. It's the blueprint. What happens next? That depends entirely on whether the WNBA is ready to stop reacting and start leading. If you got thoughts, and we know you do, drop them in the comments. Do you think the WNBA can survive this shakeup? Would you watch a Saudi-backed league if it had all the top talent? And is this just the start of a new sports world order? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want more breakdowns of the chaos going down in the world of celebrity, sports, and scandal. We've got plenty more meltdowns to cover. Let's be clear, this isn't just some headline hype. Caitlin Clark taking a $100 million deal with a Saudi-backed league is a realignment of the entire women's basketball universe. And the fallout isn't something the WNBA can just PR spin its way out of, because this isn't about one player. It's about what her exit represents. A very public no-confidence vote in a league that's been dragging its feet on the things that actually matter to athletes. Let's talk about how we got here. The WNBA has always operated in survival mode. Years of operating on a shoestring budget, nickel-and-diming athletes, and leaning heavily on its players' activism and marketability to do the emotional labor of keeping the league relevant. And for a while, that worked. Players were willing to ride for the cause, work with the league, push for growth while accepting less. But now, the patience is gone. Because it's hard to build something together when the league can't even provide charter flights or keep its MVPs healthy and supported. Caitlin Clark's injury was the tipping point. She was supposed to be the storyline of the season, the rookie phenom, the franchise saver, the merch machine, and instead, she was sidelined with vague, slow updates and a tone-deaf response from leadership that left everyone wondering who, exactly, is looking out for these players. It wasn't just a PR fumble. It was a gut check. And while WNBA execs were figuring out how to control the narrative, Project B was quietly making calls, lining up talent, booking venues, building the next stage of the sport, one that doesn't involve waiting decades for change, one where players don't have to beg for basic respect. Caitlin Clark leaving is a message to every up-and-coming hooper out there. You don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to accept lowball salaries, second-rate travel, or vague injury reports. There's another option now, and it's rolling out the red carpet, not the budget bus. What makes this even more damning is how predictable it all was. The WNBA knew this kind of competition was coming. They've seen how Gulf money disrupted other sports. They watched as entire leagues folded or merged under pressure. But instead of getting ahead of the curve, the WNBA stayed cautious, conservative, playing small, focused more on sustainability than growth. That mindset worked in 2010. It's laughably outdated now, because Project B doesn't care about sustainability. It doesn't need TV ratings or steady ad revenue to survive. It has sovereign wealth backing it. That means time, money, and patience. 3 things the WNBA doesn't have the luxury of right now. What's worse, Project B is offering exactly what the WNBA should have been providing for years. World-class healthcare, international exposure, real money, professional infrastructure. They aren't just offering better pay. They're offering a better life, better travel, better rest, better recovery, more control, more visibility. It's everything athletes want, and everything the WNBA has been dragging its feet on. You can't blame the players. They've spent their careers being told to wait their turn. That change is coming. That someday, the league will pay them what they're worth, fly them like professionals, protect their bodies, and support their legacies. Well, someday showed up wearing a $1 billion logo and a 10-figure checkbook. And now the WNBA's worst-case scenario is unfolding in real time. Think about the message this sends to current stars. Players like Breanna Stewart, Aya Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu. These women built the league's modern reputation. They carried the WNBA through lean years, injuries, and media cycles that often treated them like afterthoughts. And now they're watching a rookie, albeit a wildly marketable one, get paid 10 times more to leave. What do you think that does to morale? It's not just about Caitlin Clark leaving. It's about what happens next. What happens when her departure opens the floodgates? Because once one star crosses that line, it's easier for the next one to follow. And once the league loses multiple household names, that's when cultural relevance starts to slip. And let's be honest, the WNBA doesn't have a deep bench of mainstream stars to lose. It takes years to build the kind of name recognition Clark brought with her from college. Years of college dominance, SportsCenter clips, viral moments, and massive media buy-in. That's not easy to replicate. And now, the biggest draw in the game just left the building. So the question becomes, what is the WNBA without Caitlin Clark? A few years ago, the answer might have been still solid. But in 2025, with a fully formed competitor launching next season, that answer is starting to look shaky. Because this isn't just about talent. It's about the spotlight, the casual fans, the TV deals, the merch, the future, and Project B knows it. They're not playing small ball. They want to own women's basketball. Dominate every level of the game, from media to marketing to tournament formats. They want to be the NBA of the women's game. And right now, they're building the infrastructure to make that happen. Meanwhile, the WNBA is stuck deciding whether it can afford not to cut back on commercial flights. It's no longer a fair fight, and the players know it. So what needs to happen? The WNBA needs to completely rethink its model. Not tweak, not adjust, rethink. That means unlocking bigger revenue-sharing agreements, bringing in new global investors, forging international broadcast partnerships, getting aggressive with expansion, both domestic and overseas, and most importantly, investing heavily in the players themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the logo or the league history. It's about who's on the court. That's where the fans are. That's where the money flows. And right now, the smartest money is following the players, wherever they go. If that means building a new product from scratch overseas, so be it. If it means walking away from a legacy league that still treats its athletes like a cost center, players will do it. Because why stay loyal to a league that won't fight for you? The truth is, the WNBA is at a crossroads, and not the slow burn kind. This is an immediate, high-stakes moment that will define the next decade of women's basketball. Either the league adapts right now and puts its money where its mission statements are, or it starts planning for life without its biggest stars. Because Project B isn't going anywhere. And Caitlin Clark was just the opening move. The craziest part? No one at the top seemed ready for this. You would think that after years of fighting for visibility, clawing for sponsorships, and watching fans beg for the WNBA to level up, the league would have been on high alert. That someone in a suit would have raised a hand and said, "Hey, what happens if someone with a massive bankroll comes in and actually listens to what players want?" But instead, the WNBA acted like it had time. Like loyalty was permanent. Like talent was tied to geography. That mindset, that arrogance, is how you lose a sport. Because loyalty isn't infinite. Especially not when it's been one-sided for this long. Let's talk numbers. WNBA base salaries are still hovering in the low six figures for most players. Star players? They make more in endorsements than on the court. The entire league is operated on the assumption that players would stick around for the greater good, for the movement, for the dream. But dreams don't pay for private chefs. They don't cover rehab bills. They don't put your body on a first-class flight after a back-to-back road stretch. Dreams get old, especially when there's a shiny, fully funded reality waiting on the other side of the world. Project B didn't just understand that. They capitalized on it. They looked at the WNBA's long list of excuses. We're growing, we're trying, we're getting there, and answered with, "Cool, we already are there." And Caitlin Clark? She was a perfect storm. A generational talent, a media magnet, a player with real leverage, and zero patience for the be grateful and wait model. When her injury hit and the league fumbled a response. That was it. The illusion cracked. All the talk about building a better future for women's basketball suddenly looked like just that. Talk. Because if the WNBA can't even protect its number one draft pick, its golden goose, the literal face on every ad campaign, then who can they protect? That's not just a PR issue. That's a trust issue. And trust, once broken, is expensive to rebuild. But here's the catch. The WNBA doesn't have the money to buy back that trust. Not the way Project B does. They have to earn it, re-earn it, through real action, real investment, real urgency. Because the athletes aren't waiting anymore. And neither are the fans. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Because let's not pretend this new Saudi-backed league doesn't come with its own questions. Human rights, gender equality, geopolitical agendas, those are real conversations. But that's what makes this move even more damning for the WNBA. Because when players are willing to take those risks to leave your league, that says something. Loudly. It says the conditions they're leaving behind are so limiting, so stagnant, that they're willing to step into controversy for a shot at real change. That's not a good look. And while WNBA execs might try to paint this as betrayal, the reality is they've had every opportunity to fix this, to be proactive, to put players first. But instead of building a fortress, they built a waiting room, and now someone else built the dream house next door. So where does this leave the fans? Because let's be real, this isn't just a player issue. The people who supported this league, season after season, ticket after ticket, have watched the same cycle repeat. One step forward, two corporate stumbles back. And now, they're watching their favorite player get scooped up by a league they didn't even know existed a year ago. They're asking, what's going on here? The answer? A power vacuum. Women's basketball has never had this kind of global money thrown at it. Not like this. Not with strategy, speed, and seriousness. And in that vacuum, anything can happen. New heroes rise. Old systems crumble. Entire leagues shift from center stage to sideshow. This is what disruption actually looks like. It's not hypothetical anymore. And the most tragic part? It could have been avoided. If the WNBA had moved faster. If they put athletes first, not just in statements, but in budgets. If they treated their players like assets, not expenses. If they'd invested in long-term infrastructure instead of short-term optics. But they didn't, and now they're scrambling. Suddenly, we're working on it isn't enough. Suddenly, every press release feels a little too late. Suddenly, that charter flight discussion they delayed for years, it's front and center. Now, they want to talk about salaries, safety, expansion. Now they want to move. But the market doesn't wait. The money's already on the table. The headlines are already written. And Caitlin Clark? She's already gone. This is the part where the WNBA has to decide. Are we going to be the league that was? Or are we going to fight to stay the league that matters? Because the next 6 to 12 months are it. No more slow pivots. No more phase plans. It's now or never. If they want to keep players from bolting, they need to offer more than just emotional investment. Because no one's asking these athletes to choose between money and morals. They're asking why the WNBA hasn't offered both all along. And if the answer is we can't afford it, then someone else will. That's the new game. That's the new reality. Project B brought it. And Caitlin Clark just made it real. So now we wait. Will the WNBA step up and meet the moment? Or will this just be the first name on a very long list of players who decided they were done waiting? You already know how this works. Hit like if you're still trying to process the wild direction women's basketball is heading. Share this with someone who thinks sports drama is just for the men's leagues. And drop a comment below. Is this the end of the WNBA as we know it, or the shake-up it desperately needed? Either way, the future isn't waiting. And neither is the money.